When Minari first premiered in 2020, it was met with overwhelming praise, earning a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6 Oscar nominations, and even taking home the category of Best Supporting Actress. Critics commended its powerful story, and Korean Americans felt like they could see themselves in the struggles of the characters. The film's reception was incredibly positive overall. I find this interesting considering just how different Minari feels from a lot of movies these days. And yet, every convention it breaks only further enhances the story it's trying to tell. I'd even argue that the reason it's so critically acclaimed is because of all the conventions it breaks. And so today I want to actually break down Minari's filmmaking techniques, identify what made them so unconventional, and why this is actually beneficial to the story it's trying to tell. Written and directed by Lee Isaac Chung, Minari tells the story of Jacob Yi, a Korean immigrant who's just moved to rural Arkansas. He dreams of having his own farm where he can grow his own vegetables and provide for his wife and kids. The movie follows Jacob as he chases his dreams, despite his wife Monica's concerns about their living situation. Ultimately, it's a very character-driven story, and thus the film takes a minimalist approach when it comes to both editing and sound design. I think one of the most striking things about Minari's sound design is its lack of background music. Sure, the film does have a soundtrack, it was even nominated for Best Original Score at the Oscars, but despite how good the music is, it's barely even in the movie, really only being used in montages and single shots of characters reflecting on their actions. On paper, this seems like a terrible idea. You'd think that the audience would be bored to death watching an entire movie in silence, but it actually lets the audience further get invested in the characters and their setting. After all, the story takes place in middle-of-nowhere Arkansas. The omission of background music lets Minari show the diverse soundscape of its setting. It really makes you feel like you too are in the middle of nowhere, and gives the movie a very calm and peaceful tone.
데뷔, 우리 기도하자.
This simplistic approach also gives a sense of relatability to the story, making the characters truly feel like real people. Nowhere is this more clear than in Monica and Jacob's argument, one of the most intense scenes in the entire movie.
잘 살긴 뭐가 잘 살아? 우리 엄마 우리 도대체 누굴 얘기하는 건데? 됐어!
That silence says so much more than any dramatic music ever could. After all, when very tense situations occur in your life, dramatic music doesn't just start playing like it does in the movies. Minari uses familiar sounds from everyday life to draw you into its characters, letting you see them for the imperfect humans they are. It doesn't glamorize anything with theatrical music. Instead, it lets the scenes play out much like how they would in real life, putting the focus on the characters and how their relationships develop. Every moment of silence or pause in conversation has a purpose, and overshadowing this with dramatic music would only hurt the emotional narrative the film is trying to convey. To go along with its sound design, Minari's visual language is similarly toned down. Rather than super fast-paced scenes with big flashy effects, Minari takes a more laid-back approach to its editing. Sometimes entire scenes are done in a single shot with barely any cuts, such as this conversation between Monica and Jacob. It's a very intimate scene, and yet it's framed as a wide shot. The cinematographer of Minari, Lachlan Milne, explains this decision by saying, quote, "I'm a huge fan of holding shots for longer and minimal coverage. It's an ideal way of controlling the editorial pace and giving the viewer the opportunity to look around, picking up extra details in the background that are good for character development." You can really see how effective this choice is. It gives the audience time to breathe and process all the complex emotions the characters are going through, as well as letting the scenes develop in real time, rather than being stitched together through fancy editing. This theme of honesty and realism shows itself in almost every aspect of Minari's production. It's a small-budget project, only costing $2 million, with simplistic editing and sound design, yet nothing about it feels cheap, because the style of filmmaking is perfect for the story Minari is trying to tell. What's so impressive about this movie is how critically acclaimed it is, considering its simplicity. 6 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. I feel like this is pretty uncommon for Hollywood to honor such a small film, compared to much higher budget projects like Mank, which cost $25 million. It's filmed entirely in black and white and uses a lot of complicated techniques to achieve this. Minari doesn't have the budget or spectacle of these kinds of films, so the fact that it got so much praise is really nice to see. In my opinion, there's something really special about this movie. It isn't trying to be some grand drama about influential figures, just a single family trying to get by. And yet there's something so incredibly compelling about the simplicity of this movie. From the lighting choices to sound design, every aspect pulls you into the relatability of the story. It doesn't need any grandiose editing, because it knows that would only distract from its compelling characters and their relationships. Honestly, more than anything, this movie feels like a breath of fresh air. You don't see this kind of realness in movies very often, and that's what makes it so special.